This is Jerry's. He sent a message saying that he is doing well, and we believe that he's covered by our prayers. We believe that God is giving him direction, and I just pray that that time there is a blessing to him and to our church family in Bristol. And we just thank you for his just hearing the Lord and them hearing the Lord. And peace and love and patience, the goodness of God. Good morning, and I wanted to talk to you this morning. This morning, the Lord just seemed like had right there in my face, and thinking about what I do. First thing I do in the morning is I have this health drink thing of nasty green stuff that I go and drink. And out of bed, I come into the kitchen and I pour a little glass of water and I mix this stuff up because I believe that it's good for me, and I hope that it is. And but I just have that routine. I know when I get out of bed first thing in the morning, I'm going to go into the kitchen and I'm going to mix this stuff up and I'm going to drink it. It's just a routine that I do. And in hopes that is, but I was thinking this morning about how the Lord's intervention in our lives can cause a change of our routines. I was thinking about the blind man that Jesus healed. His routine was to sit and beg. If your routine is to live in your inability, and then your inability becomes your ability, it'd be kind of productive to just stay with your same routine. I mean, one thing is it's a little bit hard to sitting there in perfect health. See that every day on the streets. You look and there's some drive past sitting at a stoplight, and there's a guy there that him, and 25 years old in perfect health going, hey, give me some money. But his routine had to change. The crippled man, that Jesus healed him, and now he can walk. Now he's able. So you got to know that his routine had to change after having an intersection, intersection with Jesus. I was thinking about if you're a prostitute and you come to the Lord, there's going to be some change. Hopefully there's going to be some change. And that's what we see in the Bible. We see Jesus, him having a huge impact and a change of heart that leads people to a whole new direction in life and a change of what they did before Jesus and in their routines. I was thinking about even the tax gatherer. You know, if you're a tax gatherer, now maybe the tax gatherer still was a tax gatherer after having had dinner with Jesus and having him impact their lives. But the way that they did their job had to change. That routine, if their routine was to cheat people and to abuse people. And then the goodness of God is delivered to their doorstep. And I mean, you see the change in the tax gatherer. That I had, when I came to the Lord, and I said before, my family was not a religious family. That was something that someone else did. And one of my favorite stories is when I went to church. I went to a church once, and I was talking to this kid there. It was an Episcopal church, and I asked him. I said, "So, what's the difference between your church here and the Baptist church or the Methodist church?" And the kid said, "I don't know. I just know we're better than they are." But I think that that attitude still prevails. When I first came to the Lord, I had a routine, and my routine was I cussed like a sailor, and it was not something that it's like if you can't walk and the Lord heals your legs, well, then you just stand up and walk, and that routine change is easy from just sitting on the ground to being able to walk around. But God changed my heart. He changed me from the inside out. When Jesus came into my life, I was never the same. But I had some routines that presented a challenge for me. And the way that I talked was definitely one of those. And if you want to represent Jesus in a way, immediately characterize a hypocrite, it's probably good to not cuss like a sailor. And I mean, no offense to sailors. I grew up in Newport News, Virginia, and it's one of the biggest probably industry there in that time was shipbuilding. Matter of fact, my grandfather worked. He was a naval architect and worked at the shipyard. But there was no shortage of sailors in the town, in the area that I grew up in. And I can honestly say they come by the term "cuss like a sailor" because that's what they do. A lot of them do. They're known for their colorful language. But at any rate, for me, it changed my heart. And I began to really struggle with the way that I talked because it was such an obvious compromise. And when you have a routine of doing something the same way over and over again for your whole life, it is hard. It can be hard to change. It's not like you can go, in one day, I've learned a new language. I mean, I may want to speak French with all the passion of my heart, but I'm not going to be able to learn French in a day, not without major miraculous intervention. I do well to English, but I would be frustrated in that I would hear things come out of my mouth that I'm going, I don't want to talk like that. And it was like that phrase or situation where you would typically say this thing would come out. It's not even you're thinking about it. I'm not thinking I want to cuss. I see something that give me that blank thing. And anybody who's ever been to New York knows that that's a pretty common scenario there. But at any rate, sorry, I digress. But the thing that I told the Lord, I said, God, this is frustrating for me. I don't want to dishonor you with my mouth. And the word says that salt water and fresh water should not come out of the same spigot, spout. So I asked the Lord, help me with this. And I realized that was I had a routine way of saying things, and before I had a chance to grab a hold of it. And I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, please help me to see what I'm going to say and to know what I'm going to say and hear it before it comes out of my mouth. And that was a miraculous change in my life, because the words being here, the words are back here, and I could see them coming. And I had the opportunity to take them captive before they shot out of my mouth. And following that new routine of to catch it here before it came out here gave me victory over my conversation. So changing the routine, I guess it can be real health to our lives. If I was thinking about the Jesus disciples, they were fishermen. That was their routine. That was that was what they did. And Jesus came into their lives, and their routine definitely changed. They left their boats. Everything changed, and he taught them a new way. I was thinking about the lady with this, that she was in a funeral procession with her son, and he was dead. Now, when he came back to life, his routine went from nothing to whole new life. That is a major routine. I wrote down here that Jesus has a, in Jesus's routine, he makes all things new. I have an old pickup truck. It has a lot of miles on it, and that truck pulled to the left. So I took it into a shop, and they completely rebuilt the front end on that truck, set the alignment. Then I went and bought brand new tires for it, and I thought, okay, it's time to do some restoration on this truck that I have. And it was amazing how, after being renewed, after making all the things in the steering and suspension on that truck, after everything was made new, it stayed on track. That says something. One thing it says, I probably should have fixed it earlier, but the idea that God makes all things new, and because we are made new, it is easier to stay on track. And because his Spirit is in us, guiding us and encouraging us, it's easier to stay on track. I was thinking about how a small routine change can have a huge impact. And I mean, normally when I was sitting in my room upstairs, you can see around me hanging off the wall and stuff, because I like to play. And I was thinking about that if you want to learn to play an instrument, you can't just read the book, pick up the instrument, binge on it for 8 hours, trash your fingers, and come out the next day a great player, because that's not the way it works. But if you develop a small routine change of spending 15 minutes each day, it's amazing over a period of time, the change that can come. And when you start out, it feels awkward. nothing feels right about that. When you first pick up a guitar and you try to make chords or play notes, it just feels very strange. I'm doing this with my grandson right now. And what seems totally natural to me, I realize fresh from watching him that it's a challenge. And and we're talking about this 15 minutes a day, because when you do that small routine change, you're not killing your fingers, and you begin to build muscle memory. And but your prior experience says to you, I can't do this. I've lived my whole life and I know I don't know how to play guitar. I have never been able to play guitar. But a small change in your routine can bear fruit. In your first attempts, you may look at it, go, I knew I couldn't do this. I knew it. I knew this wasn't going to work. This stinks. I don't like the way this sounds at all. But you stay with it, and all of a sudden you make a little bit of progress, and it's kind of encouraging. And but someone watching you may look at you and go, no, you can't play guitar. Give it up. But you establish this new routine, and hope begins to come up. And even though someone else watching is totally unimpressed, you look at your family history and you think, okay, nobody in my family has ever played a guitar. It's, you get offered discouragements along the way to try to get you to break your routine. Your friends look at you and just smile and sure. Not the most encouraging when you're attempting and fumbling with something new. I know that when I first came to the Lord and I'm reading my Bible and I'm so excited about Jesus, my friends were my greatest detractors in that. They did not understand what I was dealing with, what had happened to me, and they were way less than encouraging in my new routines and my efforts to please the Lord. It can be that way I know that my wife is when she was a child, she was learning the viola, and it just made them crazy, and they definitely were not encouraging. But one of the things in the routine is, in changing a routine, your healing may come in the change of a routine. You may have a routine with your refrigerator that could use some change. And it's kind of like in exercise. How many people have joined a gym and go out the first day and just kill themselves, and the next day they can't even get out of bed because they tried to make a whole lifestyle change in one day, and that typically is not successful. But to make a small change, like I said, in 15 minutes a day, an impact. I know that in my life, I had an issue with my prostate gland was causing me a lot of pain, and it was a swelling and stuff. And I went to I need help. I don't know what to do. And I prayed and I sought the Lord on this thing. And the Lord, I heard, stop drinking coffee. Sometimes routine change what we want to hear. But I thought about it. I considered it. I knew I'd heard from the Lord, and drinking coffee, which for me was a big deal. I did, and a lot of people work, and just in the direction of their day, coffee is a big deal. Starbucks, when I stopped drinking, was that the Lord gave me needed. Now, I have tons of friends that drink was God's directive. He can change this in your life, and it will be health to you. Sometimes it's like the I was reading this story. Oh, I should have. Did I lose it? There it is. Okay. In Matthew, it's on page 40 of my Bible. How about Matthew 12? I have such a hard time reading these little numbers. 43, it looks like. When a demon is cast out of a person, it roams around a dry region looking for a place to rest, but never finds it. Then it says, I'll return to the house I moved out of. So it goes back, only to find that the house is vacant, warm, and ready to be moved back into. It also says that it goes out and gets to join in. I had a stomach ailment at one time in my life, and I've shared this with some people before, and that I went to the doctor and they said, get over it and get used to it. You know, there's nothing for you. You will have this for the rest of your life. And it caused me a lot of grief. And one day I'm just in my kitchen. This is after having it diagnosed, and the Lord just healed me of it. In about 15 seconds, I just felt heat come over my stomach, and God healed me from this ailment. And it was amazing. It was wonderful. I went from not being able to eat hardly anything to being able to eat anything that I wanted. I was like the guy that, that couldn't walk and then could walk again, or the guy and then see. I couldn't eat, and then I could eat. I could eat anything. Anybody who's lived in Texas knows that Mexican food with all the hot sauce and stuff can be terrorizing even to a good digestive system. But I was able to eat things that just were a delight. But it's like, I was set free in that. And then about 2 weeks later, symptoms began to pop up again. And the Lord said, resist this. It was my turn at the plate. He had driven out the sickness from me. But I cried out to the Lord, help. And he told me, he said this. So I began to, when those symptoms would come back, I would tell them, you're gone. You are history. You don't live here anymore. I give you no place. I am here. Speak truth to that ailment that tried to come back on me. And this, and it would go away. And then, a few days later, I'd feel a symptom again, gurgling in my stomach or something. I said, no, no, no. But God and me push back and hold on to the gift that he had given. And after about weeks, well, it's been 15 years now, and I don't deal with that. I had a friend who was deathly ill, and they had told her, "You will not live." The Lord healed her miraculously. It was amazing. I mean, just healed her miraculously. And then, because He had a plan for her life, a week later, she was down again. And I went and visited with her, and I said, "What is going on?" And I said, "What did you do after the Lord healed you?" She said, I went out. I went to the park. I said, "Where were you on Sunday?" She said, "I went to the park. I went playing Frisbee with my friend. And I was just so glad to be well again. I've been sick for so long." And then Monday I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed. The next Sunday I drove to her house. I got her out of bed. I took her to church with me. We sat there and she couldn't even sit up. And I knelt over, I bent over, and I'm talking. She's sitting there in the chair, and I thank God, worship God. It was during the praise, people singing and clapping and everything. And she began to clap first because she said, "I just can't clap." Within 5 minutes, she was restored again as she pushed back. We have a part to play. And in changing just small course corrections, God ordained course corrections, can be healing to your life. And if you have a struggle with something, maybe the small step is the best step. If you're dealing with anger or unforgiveness, or there's a plethora of things that try to come on us. But the Lord He is our healer. He is the one who strengthens us and gives us the power to change our routines and to experience life, and that more abundantly. So I'll end real quickly here. Something to you. This is Psalm 68. God, arise with awesome power, and every one of your enemies will be scattered in fear. And I read this as enemies as those who attack my soul, those who try to steal my joy, steal my health. Those are my enemies. Chase them away, all these God haters. Blow them away as a puff of smoke. Melt them away like wax in a fire. One good look at you, Lord, and the wicked vanish. But let all your godly lovers be glad. Yes, let them all rejoice in your presence and be carried away with gladness. Let them laugh and be radiant with joy. Let them sing their celebration songs for the coming of the cloud rider, whose name is Yahweh. Worship, praise, prayer, routine, even small changes is health to our soul. Lord, I thank you for this morning. I pray, God, encouragement. I thank you, Lord God, you are the routine changer. You are the healer. You are the restorer. God, in you, depression has to flee. Discouragement has to flee. Sickness has to flee. We just thank you, Lord, that you are our abundant supply, and we give you praise in the name of Jesus. Have a wonderful morning.